Hi, this is Alicia Lamb, presenting Family Education Rights and Privacy Act, also known as FERPA. So with FERPA, it's a federal law and it protects the privacy of student education records that are maintained by educational agencies or institutions. And it gives parents rights to their children's educational records. They have the right to inspect and review their child's academic records, the right to seek to have their education records amended, and the right to have some control over the disclosure of their education. So, FERPA is enforced by our Family Police Compliance Office that is in the Department of Healing Art or Department of Education. Parents or eligible students file a FERPA complaint against the school or the school district. They're going to have to file it through the Family Policy Compliance Office, and they will determine the type of action that needs to be taken. So, what are education records specifically? They are directly related to a student and maintained by an educational agency or institution or by a party acting for the agency or institution. Records on children with disabilities or who receive evaluation services and other benefits under IDEA are subjects to IDEA's record requirements. And what is not part of educational records? So private records that a teacher may keep for their memories, any drawings or notes that students may write to them. Law enforcement or campus security records created and maintained for law enforcement reasons. We'll get into a little bit more on law enforcement later. Any employment records, alumni records, and grades on peer graded papers before they are recorded into a teacher's gradebook. So video surveillance. Surveillance recordings created and maintained by security officers employed by the school district are considered educational records. But if the school district does not maintain those records, they are not considered confidential or part of education records. If a surveillance recording qualifies as an education record, it has to directly relate to a student and is maintained by the institution. It has to meet those two requirements, and it must be disclosed to the parents of the student for whom it is an education record. And if a video is used to single out students for fighting, performing illegal activities, the other students that may be in the background, their images have to be redacted from the footage before it is released to parents or any other party viewing that video. Immigration and student disclosure. This is pretty interesting because I did not think that this would be a part of FERPA, but it is. That the Department of Homeland Security and its ICE Bureau have permission to access student records to monitor the stay of international students. I can see this more at a college level than I can at a high school level because we don't have as many foreign exchange students as you would at a college level. And FERPA permits school districts to disclose student information if there is a judicial order, a health or safety emergency, and a student that may have engaged in a crime of violence or a sex offense. So data destruction, this is really important when we talk about student privacy of records and that we are destroying information properly. Ensure that the destruction of personally identifiable information, also known as PII, by using certification forms. I thought this was a good way to check that the forms were, or all information was actually being destroyed, and that somebody is signing off on who performed the destruction and how they destroyed them. I also think that this is a good way for districts to make sure that all the records are being properly destroyed, not just at a building level, but at a district level also. When the data is no longer required, destroy non-electronic media using secure means. We do this when we write IEPs. There is a statement that if a student's records are not picked up by the age of 25, that the district has the right to destroy those records. I noticed that some statements had said that it was by age 18, but Auburn-Washburn holds that at age 25 they are destroyed. Electronic data, just sending emails to a trash can doesn't get rid of them. They're stored on a database. So you need to have a proper data deletion method to ensure that it can never be recovered, because in our Gmail accounts, anything we delete, we can just get back out of our trash. And then destroy CDs, DVDs, and any magneto-optical discs by pulverizing, crosscut, shredding, or burning. I don't know many of us that keep information on CDs, DVDs, or anything like that, but as a reference, we have to destroy those also. So third-party vendors. This we use a lot of. We are always looking for resources we can use online, and a lot of them ask for student information. So school districts are actually responsible for what the vendors do with the data. Schools should be careful with vendors that offer free services, because they can be getting paid for their education records by selling the data to third-party vendors. Taking the information, most of us don't input social security numbers when we're trying to use these apps, but we do put in the student's first and last name, maybe their birthday, and if they have a student identification number. So all that information we need to be very careful with. And then school leaders should ensure that their third-party vendors have appropriate safeguards in place and make sure contracts hold them liable if something does go wrong. And lastly, this is Auburn-Washburn's board policy, and it works for Wanamaker Elementary. There will always be a notice presented to parents and legal guardians of students. That notice will require parent or guardian signature or digital acknowledgement, and shall state student data submitted to and maintained by a statewide longitudinal data system only be disclosed as follows. Student data may be disclosed to the authorized personnel of an educational agency or the State Board of Regents who require disclosures to perform assigned duties. This can be our state assessment scores, our information on our demographics, and it can also be information for free and reduced lunches. So we send a lot of information to educational agencies, and that the student and the parent or legal guardian of the student provide the data pertains solely to the student, so that they're not pertaining information that comes from other students. So I know that was quick. There was a lot of information, but I do believe that covers Ferpa for Wanamaker Elementary and a list of our resources.